to Lou Ambroto's point, he was not there. And part of the problem with the town of Oyster Bay, and part of the problem with this property at Engle Street, is the long-standing culture of corruption that is happening in the town of Oyster Bay. You have an appointed supervisor. The two gentlemen who are sitting over here are appointed. Why didn't they just put their name on the ballot and let you decide on November 7th? There is a culture of corruption in the town of Oyster Bay. That's why you have a problem with this property in Engle Street. Because this didn't change just because now we have an appointed supervisor and two new appointed council people. We have, as Bob said, Mr. Brian Nevins, who is here. He was from the Mangano administration for $163,000 after an ethics board member told the entire board, including Mr. Saladino, I think you should hold off on this vote. They went ahead and did it anyway. So you tell me, who do you trust with your tax money? Because it's not, to me, the people who are presently there. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's time to really address some of the subterfuge that's going on. As far as Mr. Nevins goes, when I worked in the New York State Assembly, he was the director of operations to the Republicans in the state capitol. I worked with Brian Nevin before he ever stepped foot in Nassau County, and I hired him to create the highest level of transparency in that this town has seen in a long time, and that's what we're committed to. In terms of the Harris Beach issue, to deny that Harris Beach is not at the fundraisers of the Democrat Party is absurd and misleading. They were the ones who tried to get one of the candidates off the ballot. So let's be real about the truth. It's the time for honest leadership in the town of Oyster Bay. In terms of this property, in the past, the town did buy it to protect the residents from big environmental problems. What we will do is work with the public to work out the RFP so it's right in line what the community wants. And then we'll do it in an extremely transparent way, accepting those bids. The highest bidder will get it. We'll take that money, which will have a profit, and we'll return it to the taxpayers in the way of a substantial tax cut.
Thank you. Mr. O'Brady.
I'm here right now because I refuse corruption for this entire campaign. I was tried to knock off the ballot. I was offered a deal by Harris Beach to withdraw from this race in exchange for some help from the Democrats later on, if I were to run later on in my life. But I refused that. And if you go to tinyurl.com/HBfund, you'll see a picture of them fundraising with Harris Beach. Tom Gary, whose brother William Gary is involved with a lawsuit with town of Oyster Bay, so go figure. And I'm sorry to just laying that out there because that's just real big misinformation. And you can just go also to the New York Border Election Campaign Fund website and see donations from Mr. Tom Gary to the Democrats. So I will look at every deal. This lot, I will look at it with an independent eye. I'm not for really selling public property to private land, to private owners. That's not my politics at all. And whatever happens with this land will happen with an independent eye, without any influence from Sidney Bound, from Harris Beach, from Forcelli, from any Republican, from any Democrat special interest group out there.
Okay. Next question. How do you feel about the proposal for the towns to take over the Nassau County assessment system? We'll start with Mr. Saladino.
As a New York State Assemblyman, I proposed, let me turn this off, I'm going to reset that clock. As a New York State Assemblyman, I proposed a new system that is far more fair than what we currently have. That would change our system and would save tremendous amounts of tax dollars. My record is about cutting taxes. As a member of the Assembly, we put in place a tax cap. We delivered the biggest decrease in our state income tax in 70 years. And in contrast to my opponent, he doubled the taxes on the Syosset School Board. He put in place the highest paid superintendent in America's history, $500,000 a year, paying her more than the President of the United States. Governor Cuomo quoted it as wasteful spending. Controller DiNapoli chided them for these actions. And then that person went out and attended Mr. Herman's fundraisers and has been a large fundraiser for them. It's time to stop the problems, and we have put in so many positions and instituted so many programs, from the ethics committee to a former federal prosecutor as our town attorney. And we will continue to fix the town of Oyster Bay.
So much to say about this. I don't think the county is doing a particularly great job with our assessment system. But I also just want to point out that Mr. Saladino voted to raise taxes 103 times when he was in the assembly. It's not true? Okay. We have the records, but that's fine. This town of Oyster Bay has a history of misleading information, or giving misleading information to its voters. So insofar as any plan that the town has to push off any of its services to the county, guess what? You still pay for that. You just pay for it out of your county taxes instead of your town taxes. For example, there's been a proposal in the new budget that we're going to push off public safety onto the county. Reportedly, there's some grant. There is no plan to actually do this, and this is what the town does. They put forth these things as though they're actually going to happen, and what they are proposals with no actual backing, no partnership with the legislature, no partnership with NIFA. None of these things exist. They're just sound bites, political sound bites.
Mr. Visacki.
Thank you very much. So we all know that the assessment system in Nassau County is broken. You over here may not challenge your taxes. The people over here do. It's unfair because just because you sit in your house, you're paying more taxes than them because they file a tax grievance. And you all get these mailers in the mail, right? We get about 1,000 of them about that right time of year. Who's making all the money off that? The system is corrupt. So the question is from Joel, should we be shifting the assessment system to the 3 towns in Oyster Bay? I don't necessarily think that's a good idea. You're going to have further competition between the towns. You're going to have a system that gets even more disparate treatment. We are one county. We need to work together as a county. We obviously need to get rid of the corrupt Ed Mangano, who has been indicted and for some reason will not leave office and is staying in office, and yet his people are being hired by the town of Oyster Bay, including new leaders who have been hired by the current supervisor. So I do not think that we should be taking on that role in the town. We have enough problems, ladies and gentlemen, to fix. What we should do is make sure that the current and new county executive who comes in January 1 has our support to fix the assessment system so it's equitable to everyone.
Yeah. Mr. Herman.
Thank you. All right, so let me answer some real fast questions. Some real fast comments. Number 1. Everything I did on the Syosset School Board for 18 years, I'm very proud of. Very proud of. Our value of our homes doubled when I was there. We are rated in the top 1% in the country. 99% of our children graduate and go to college. So I'm very, very proud of what we did. People move into a district. People move into a district because of the schools. They don't move in because of the government. We are known nationally in Syosset because of our government, because of our schools. Our town is known nationally because of their corruption. Now let me tell you a quick story, okay? A real fast, quick story. I saw a young man who started kindergarten and spent 13 years in our system, and he graduated, and I had the opportunity to hand him his diploma. He then went to, and just an average student, he then went to Cornell and got his master's degree in Harvard. He was the youngest person to run for the school board and get elected, and now he's running for your county legislator. I stand by that kind of progress, and I'm proud of everything that we did. And when he finds the day that he can come anywhere close to what I've done, then we'll have a real debate. Thank you.
Mr. Hand.
Okay, the question was, do we shift the process over to the town? And I'm opposed to that. We'll keep it in the county, we'll get it fixed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Ripp.
I'm a neophyte at this. I haven't mastered the art of answering or avoiding the question and injecting some other stuff. I don't know. I want to answer some questions. I don't want to beat anybody up. Listen, the town can't handle it. Has anybody ever gone online and tried to review taxes on the town? You're allowed to look at 2 properties. That's it. If you want to look at any other information, you have to make up a whole new email address and start all over again. The tax problem, it's a wreck. It was purposely set up this way. The people that are making the millions of dollars grieving your taxes are donating to these people, these Republican people, unfortunately, because they're in power right now. Might they donate to the Democrats if they get in power? Maybe. It's a mess, and some of our elected leaders are experts at circumventing the system and grieving their taxes. This is public information. If you happen to look at Mr. Saladino's tax records, he grieves his taxes every year. We live in the same neighborhood. He has a bayfront house. I don't. His taxes are like $5,000 or $6,000 a year less than mine. As a matter of fact, he lives next door to a vacant lot, and his taxes are about $5,000 a year less than that vacant lot. So, unbelievable.
Mr. Fryer.
Thank you. I believe that comment came, or suggestion came from the Republican candidate, Jack Martins. And no, that's absolutely ridiculous to shift the assessment system to the towns. The county needs to get it right, okay? And hopefully, if Laura Curran's elected, that'll happen. But first of all, I want to say, Mandelbaum, that's a very large tax thank you. They gave $10,000 to Mr. Saladino. So Mr. Saladino is part of this whole corruption thing that has happened. Also, in 4 of the 5 most recent tax certiorari lawsuits that Mr. Saladino was part of, he used Sean Acosta, who claims to have represented over 260,000 taxpayers. Sean Acosta served on Mr. Mangano's Assessment Review Commission, which supported property tax disputes the way they are. So he's part of the problem that created this messed up property assessment system that is just getting law firms really, really rich, and they're contributing to people like Mr. Saladino.
Thank you. Mr. Clark.
Jeff, keep your hand down, because this one's actually, it's going to take a long time to answer this, but, you know, when we look at the tax assessment system, this just says how important a town clerk is, because Nassau County is kind of unique in the counties of Long Island that the tax assessments are done by the county and not by the town. You know, the information that's required to do tax assessments should be found with the town clerk. Every time you have to modify your house, every time you have to get permits, they're stored with the clerk. So obviously the towns would have an easier way of doing an assessment system. Now the county, they overassess, they have money come in, and there's a surplus, and it shows a net revenue gain on that, but what they don't tell you is they have to pay that back. And that's a problem. This should be shifted to the towns, and that's the logical way to go about doing this. What I find very disingenuous, though, is to say that, and I hate to take Mr. Saladino's side on this, but he's not the only one taking money from the tax cert lawyers. If we look at Laura Curran, she took a tremendous amount of money from them. And it's on both sides. We have Democrats and Republicans who are taking large campaign contributions, and this has to end. And it's ending up in bad legislation, and we're paying for the corruption.
Mr. Abreu.
I don't know if I have much more to add to Jonathan Clark, except for the fact that, yes, we are running as independents. I do not plan on taking donations from anyone trying to do business with the town ever. I will reiterate this enough already, but that's my politics. That's why I'm here. I'm here right now because I didn't accept the backdoor deal from Harris Beach. So I wouldn't be talking to you right now if that were the case, if that were my character. And that is not what I'm about. I'm here to represent you guys, the community. I've lived here my entire life since I was 2 years old. I'm 28 now. It's been a long time, and I'm not looking to turn my back on anyone. Thank you.
Mr. Ambrose.
Thank you. The question was about whether we should shift the tax assessments to the town. Really, the answer is the system is broken. It doesn't matter whether the town is doing it, whether the county is doing it. It needs to be fixed. The fact that you need to grieve your taxes every single year just to keep them from going up when they are staying the same governmentally is ridiculous. So we need to fix the system, but what's the bottom line? The bottom line is we pay too much in taxes. We can't afford to live here. Our seniors are moving away. Our young people are moving away. We need to fix our property taxes in the first place so that it's not as big of an issue. That's what we're doing in the town of Oyster Bay. With the largest debt reduction in town history, reducing discretionary spending in our first proposed budget, and cutting taxes for every resident in the town of Oyster Bay so that we could all afford to stay here and we don't have to go crazy grieving our taxes every year. We need to cut taxes.
Ms. Fellows.
Oh, okay, it's on. So I take issue with the tax assessment system. Jonathan and I have spoken about this quite a few times over the past couple of weeks because there are a handful of attorneys, tax grievance attorneys, Maid and Baum. You know, that's a notorious one. They were plastered on a sticker on Newsday the other day. But, you know, the unfortunate thing is the wealthier individuals are the ones that get the tax breaks, and then the people, you know, in lower income areas, they're the ones that suffer. So, you know, again, special interests coming in and, you know, helping to contribute to a broken tax system. I'm also in agreement with Jonathan that the town should be the one that should handle the tax assessment system. Again, they have permit records from, you know, the 1950s. We had a client, we went in and they pulled out his restaurant and they told him, you know, the other stores that were in there from the 50s and the 60s. And if we had a town clerk that showed up to debates, we could find more information about this, because this should be the person that would answer this, the town clerk. Thanks.
Before you say that, the town clerk was not included in this evening's debate. He's in one of the others.
And he's in the back of the room, right?
Okay, he's visiting.
Raise your hand. It's right here.
So I wouldn't want somebody to say something he's not here when he wasn't included.
Unbelievable.
All right, Mr. Mangelli.
All right, I will correct that. It was mainly targeted toward Dean Hart, who I never see anywhere.
Hello. Okay, I can be short and sweet and say no. I don't approve of it coming into the towns. I think we have enough of our on our plate right now than to take that huge responsibility. I would say I'm a practicing attorney for 22 years. I have direct experience with handling homeowners' grievances, people who can't afford their taxes, not necessarily people who are just trying to get over, but people who actually need a break. I represent those people on a small scale every once in a while, and I grieve the taxes. The reality of it is if you don't grieve it, it's not going to happen. And whatever you get grieved, somebody else is paying for it. In my opinion, what I'd like to do is I'd like to make it just a flat tax. 1% of the fair market value of your house, that's your tax. The town needs to learn, the county needs to learn to work within their budget, not just to keep coming and taking more money out of our pockets for whatever the hell they want. 1% of your fair market value, simple, common sense solutions for the benefit of all, not the politically connected, not the wealthy, not the poor, everybody. And frankly, I'm a little tired of the mudslinging going on. I think we should stop that, concentrate on the issues, and be positive here. We live in a great town, an amazing town. Nobody's going to leave that doesn't want to leave. This is an amazing place to live, best school districts, everything. Keep your head up. This is a wonderful place to be.
Thank you. Okay, given the hour and the curfew of the evening, we are not going to be able to get to any more of the questions, but we are going to have each candidate give a concluding statement, and unfortunately, because of the time, we only have 1 minute for it. So, please do the best you can to, when that bell rings, to be ready to hand off the microphone, because otherwise the parking lot gate gets locked and we're stuck in here. Okay, and to kick us off, Ms. Fellows.
So I decided to run for office on the platform of corruption. I am a disenfranchised Bernie voter. I spent most of the last year defending purge voters in Brooklyn and also people who were switched out of their parties. I don't think that the Democratic Party is representing me. And I can say this for Steve Abreu and Jonathan, that's why we decided to run on the progressive line, progressive Bull Moose line, because Teddy tried to break the two-party system. It wasn't successful, but it's still the message that we're trying to send. I don't like the ties to Harris speech, not in my town. And, you know, unfortunately, people can't draw the connection because the news doesn't report it.
We don't have proper news reporting. Join Long Island Media Task Force if you want to get involved in that. Nicole's back there. And there's issues with Joseph Conway, who's running as a Democrat and a Republican. He was Singh's attorney. The Democrats put him up. There's just too much going on, and I don't see much difference between the two parties running.
Okay, Mr. Ambrodo.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. Again, my name is Lou Ambrodo. I'm a brand new councilman in the town of Oyster Bay, and since taking office 6 months ago, I've been doing my best to clean up corruption in the town of Oyster Bay. We instituted a brand new bipartisan ethics board. We're going to be creating an inspector general to oversee all contracts, and we completely changed the process by which all concessions in the town of Oyster Bay are vetted so that it's completely open and completely transparent. I know a lot of people were there when we went through that process. My other focus is attacking the town's finances aggressively, making sure that we reduce our debt as we're doing. By the end of the year, we will have reduced the town debt by $85 million. That's the largest debt reduction in town of Oyster Bay history. And we will be cutting property taxes in our first budget. So again, our young people, our seniors, and our middle-class families can afford to stay here on Long Island. We also want to protect our suburban quality of life and crack down on the general quality of life issues here in Hicksville, like illegal housing and non-maintenance of property. Thank you.
Mr. Rick.
Hello. I've been addressing and exposing corruption in the town of Oyster Bay for more than 4 years now. I started because I consider myself a victim of the double standards that still exist in the town of Oyster Bay. Recently, I've sued the town of Oyster Bay personally. I mentioned I have a high school education. Half a dozen times over the town's failure to produce public information. I prevailed in every incident. I recently sued the town of Oyster Bay, Mr. Saladino and the town board, because I felt that they were voting to enact legislation approving spending before they provided the information to the residents that deserved to know what was going on. The Supreme Court in Nassau County agreed with me. For the first time ever in the history of the state of New York, Mr. Saladino and the town board were ordered to undergo remedial open meetings law training with the Committee on Open Government. Mr. Saladino has chosen to appeal that Supreme Court decision and has refused to attend the remedial training. This is the type of work that I've been doing myself. I've never asked anybody for a dime. I've never asked anybody for any help. I've done it because I felt that it needed to be done. If I'm elected, I'll continue working as hard as I can for all of us, the residents in the town of Oyster Bay.
Mr. Fryer.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the Hicksville Garden Civic Association for hosting this event and for all of you coming. The turnout is absolutely fantastic. So I think we've heard from all of us tonight. One of the things I want to mention is if you vote for us, the Democratic slate, the TOB Dems, we're going to completely change the way Oyster Bay does business. Have you all received this in the mail recently? With the faux family and the bad apples? You paid for that, like $50,000 per mailing, and he's done several of them. Taxpayers have brought a lawsuit against him for that. So vote for us. We're going to be honest. We're not going to let you down. There'll be no more patronage jobs like Mr. Nevin or Ed Mangano's attorney getting hired or anything like that. It'll be complete transparency. There will almost not be a need for foils because everything is going to be searchable on a website, not like it is today. Thank you.
Mr. Angeli.
Hi, once again, my name is John Mangeli. I'm running at the bottom of the line there. It's going to be probably just an REF, but if you want to vote for me, just find Mangeli. I'm on there. One thing I want to point out is if I'm elected supervisor, all of the outsourcing of the legal will stop. Okay, we spend millions of dollars sending outside, all of these legal issues to outside counsel. When we're suing the people who built the Hicksville train station, we're paying for it. I don't think they're doing it on a contingency. So we're paying $400 or $500 an hour times 5 or 6 different attorneys. The outsourcing will stop. The construction will improve, the roads will improve if I have to go out there and do it myself. For 3 years, I was an operating engineer. I'll bring the bulldozers and the track excavators, I'll fix your roads myself. I am going to do the work for you. I'm not gonna pay somebody else to do it and me just point the direction and tell them what to do. It isn't gonna happen that way. Work is gonna get done. It's gonna get done within the 2 years that I have the office. I stand for term limits. I'm not looking for a job. I don't wanna make this a 20-year career. I'm not politically connected to anybody. I'm not a politician. I'm an independent. We need people who are not politically tied right now, and this is the air, and this is the year to do it. It might only be on a local level, okay, but we can take the local level and bring it up. But locally, we can survive with nonpartisan
Like I said, we have time
Okay, thanks.
here. Mr. Abreu.
Like I've said multiple times tonight, I'm running because I want to end the bipartisan corruption that has suffocated our country, our county, our town for far too long, for decades, if not centuries. I am sick of hearing from Republicans that the Democrats are bad. I am sick from hearing from Democrats that Republicans are bad. Be honest. The corruption in this county, the corruption in this island isn't partisan. It's bipartisan. These are the ruling class's parties. The people with the most money run these parties. So I'm trying to run around that, and I will always run around that because I don't want to owe anyone anything except for the people that voted me in and the people I was elected to represent. That is why I got involved with politics a few years ago on the national level with Bernie Sanders' campaign. And when I got involved with that, I didn't just, let me just follow a politician and just say what he says. No, let me go to school, let me finish my degree and learn what's going on. Let me learn about politics and economics, and let me do something with it to change my community. Thank you.
Hi, also again, my name is Eva Pearson, and I'm one of the Democratic candidates for the Town of Oyster Bay Council. Once again, I'd like to thank, pardon? Oh, 5 minutes. I'd like to thank the Hicksville Garden Civic Association for hosting this forum and for everyone coming out tonight. We know how busy you are, so we very much appreciate you coming out and taking time out of your busy schedules. If you want to read the entire platform of the Town of Oyster Bay Democrats, you can do so on oysterbaydems.org. That's part where we have that we will not be sending out political mailers, that we will not be putting our names on every single building and sign that is in the Town of Oyster Bay. And one of the other things that we are putting forth, since we are not a slate of politicians, is term limits. We feel very strongly that the fact that there has been one party in power and for the Town of Oyster Bay for nearly 20 years is part of the reason why there's been so much corruption. So we believe in term limits. And the other thing is, what's going on in the Town of Oyster Bay is not necessarily a Republican versus a Democrat issue, because there is corruption in both parties. But guess what? When you have one party in power, that's what happens. So the only way you can get rid of that is to vote people in who have years of experience, decades of experience in the private sector, who can use that expertise to break up that cycle of career politicians and their corruption. Thank you.
Mr. Herman.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for coming again and thank the Civic Association for having us. The reason I'm running, 3 things actually happened. Number 1, I started seeing people on TV being taken out in handcuffs. Number 2, I saw our taxes go up 11.5% this year and 33% in the last 5 years. And the third thing happened, very similar to probably a lot of you. My middle son, his wife, and my two of the granddaughters moved out because they couldn't afford to live here anymore. Now I believe there's still a lot of corruption in this town. I believe people should get jobs based on what they know, not who they know. I believe in smart government, smart environmental growth. I believe in government for the people, by the people, not the other way around. I believe a town can provide services in a cost-effective, efficient manner. And I believe our taxes are too high, we can lower them. And I believe in term limits, so we don't wind up with a Venditto or Saladino legacy that goes on forever. My name is Mark Herman. I'm running for supervisor Town of Oyster Bay because I'm a regular guy. I'm from the private sector, and I want to give the town back to you. Just remember me and these 3 best people in the world.
Thank you. Mr. Saladino.
That was a lot of things Mr. Herman wants to get done. But the bottom line is, if you're not willing to be a full-time supervisor, you just can't get it done. And he's on record as telling the media that he will not commit to leaving his dental practice and wants to be a part-time supervisor.
That's a lie, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lie.
And in terms of some of the other issues that you've heard, especially from someone who actually has been involved in cyberbullying on the internet, and that's despicable. Tomorrow's Newsday will show that Mr. Rip has failed to follow the law and submit his financial disclosure forms, and even worse, the State Board of Elections will come down because he is, well, okay, look at Newsday tomorrow.
You have no
and
permits
answer
on
the
your
question. Because he has not filed financial disclosures to the State Board of Elections. We, the Republicans, have been in office for 8 months now. And it's easy to attack those people trying to make a difference. And when we have proven ourselves by reducing the debt by $71 million, removing take-home cars from our central staff, to reduce taxes, reduce our debt with proven results. Go to josephsaladiano.com or down the voice today. You're going to have a little respect, ladies and gentlemen. DownTheVoiceToday.com or josephsaladino.com. And still see how much we have accomplished in just 6 months. They can be disrespectful all day long, but we have given the results. We got a $10 million grant for Hicksville. So our record is proven, and we'll continue to serve you as town supervisor. Thank you very much. Mr. Rusani, tomorrow's Newsday.
Huh? All right, Mr. Clark, you can go next. Ladies and gentlemen, please.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that, but I think I will. Well, you know, it's follow the money, follow the money. If you're not voting independent this year, I don't know what's wrong with you. You know, each party is claiming the other one is more corrupt than the other. So then don't vote for any of them. Vote for the independents. You know, I would really appreciate your vote. I'm running as a progressive, as an independent, but you know, if you're not going to vote for me, at least Rob or John. I hope I don't see in tomorrow's paper that we all have the same platform and we essentially said the same thing. Because what fundamentally is the difference between the candidates here is, do you believe in democracy, do you believe in a democratic process, or do you believe in big donors, do you believe in big money in politics? And that is what you're going to get if you vote for me, it's what you're going to get if you vote for Steve, and it's what you're going to get if you vote for Blair. Someone who doesn't believe that money should be the swaying force in politics, that any decision should be made because the people want that and it's a good decision to make, and not because a high-priced donor gave you that money. Now, please vote independent this year.
Yeah. Mr. Versace.
Thank you very much, everyone. I know the hour is late. I'll try to be brief. I have a minute. Thank you all for coming. To see this kind of turnout in a community event is truly amazing. It shows you care about your community. And you know what also? I didn't plan on running for anything a year ago. After John Venditto was indicted, I started going to board meetings. I've been watching them for many years on the live stream. And I was so embarrassed by the way our government was running that I had to get involved. And so, you know, I decided, I talked to my family, I talked to my 9-year-old son, and I said, this is something I want to do to give back to my community. The council seats are part-time positions, but we'll be giving our full effort to this position. Bob, Eva, and I, and Dr. Herman, who is selling and retiring from his practice, would be a full-time supervisor. So what happens with this team is you get people who are normal people who is a former prosecutor, a former Air Force veteran who served in active duty in the Gulf War, a small business owner, and another small business owner. Those are independent people. We don't take donations from any town employees. We don't take donations from any vendors who do business with the town. I appreciate it, and again, my name is James Versace.
Thank you. And our last speaker will be Mr. Ham.
Thank you all for coming tonight. You know, I look back, I was born in 1960, and we lost President John F. Kennedy. And one of the things he said that just resonates, and we should all think about this tonight, there's not a Republican solution, there shouldn't be a Democratic solution, there should be the right solution. We have to work together as a community, come together. I'm bringing a world of experience from the private sector, and I worked on the Massapequa Water District, and we had the Grumman Plume. We worked very, very hard to try to remediate that. It's a very, very important challenge for our community. And when we reached out to everyone we could, because that's what we try to do. And the one that answered our call at the time was Assemblyman Joe Saladino. He was able to rally Senator Schumer, and he was able to rally Governor Cuomo. And I'm very proud of the results we're getting to date based on that information and the support of our present supervisor. Thank you again for coming tonight. It's been a wonderful night. Good night.
I want to thank everybody for participating. Everybody who's been here tonight, hopefully we'll see you again on Monday the 16th at the Community Center at 7 o'clock for the third and final installation of our Meet the Candidates. Good night, thank you.
This now concludes the meeting of the Hicksville Garden Civic Association. I want to thank my board, I want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to thank all the candidates for appearing at this forum, and reminding everybody to go out and vote in November.